Imagine this. Someone close to you dies. A few days later, you're sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by paperwork. Bank statements, bills, letters, maybe even a will. And then someone says, "You'll probably need probate." The problem is, most people have absolutely no idea what probate actually is until they're forced to deal with it. And because it usually happens during a stressful time, the whole thing can feel confusing very quickly. So in this video, I'm going to explain probate in plain English, what it is, why it exists, and when it's actually needed in England and Wales. At its simplest, probate is the legal process that gives someone authority to deal with a person's estate after they die. An estate basically means everything the person owned. So that could include money in bank accounts, property, investments, belongings, and sometimes debts as well. Probate gives someone the legal right to collect those assets, deal with financial matters, and eventually distribute everything to the beneficiaries. And because it usually happens during a stressful time, the whole thing can feel confusing very quickly. So in this video, I'm going to explain probate in plain English, what it is, why it exists, and when it's actually needed in the UK. Now, you might wonder, why can't the family just access everything automatically? Why involve a legal process at all? The reason is protection. Banks, building societies, and organisations need proof that the right person is dealing with the estate. Without probate, anyone could potentially claim they have authority to access someone else's money or property. So probate acts as legal confirmation. It tells institutions, yes, this person has the authority to deal with the estate. Here's a simple example. Imagine someone dies owning a house in their sole name. Even if there's a will saying the house should go to their children, the property usually cannot be sold or transferred immediately. The executor normally needs probate first. That grant of probate is what allows the legal ownership to be dealt with properly. The person who applies for probate depends on whether there's a will. If there is a will, the executor named in the will usually applies. If there's no will, a close relative can usually apply instead, and they're called an administrator rather than an executor. But in practical terms, both roles involve dealing with the estate and handling the process after someone dies. This is another area where people often get confused. Not every estate actually requires probate. For example, some jointly owned assets pass automatically to the surviving owner. Some banks release smaller amounts without probate, and certain assets may sit outside the estate entirely. But if the person owned property solely in their own name or had larger financial assets, probate is often needed. Broadly speaking, the probate process usually involves valuing the estate, identifying assets and debts, applying for probate, paying any taxes owed, collecting the assets, and then distributing everything to beneficiaries. Now, that sounds straightforward in theory, but in reality, probate can become complicated depending on the estate, family situation, or missing paperwork. That's one reason why so many people feel overwhelmed when they become an executor for the first time. One important thing to understand is this. Probate itself does not decide who inherits. The will, or the intestacy rules if there's no will, determine who receives what. Probate is simply the legal process that allows the estate to be administered properly. So, if you remember one thing from this video, let it be this. Probate is the legal authority to deal with someone's estate after they die. It exists to protect assets, confirm authority, and make sure estates are handled properly before money and property are transferred. If you're dealing with probate right now, or you've recently become an executor, I've put together a free executors checklist that walks through the key steps in plain English. It's designed to help you stay organised and avoid some of the common mistakes people make early on. You can download it using the link in the description below. And if you want simple, practical explanations about probate and estate administration in England and Wales, make sure to subscribe, because I'll be covering the process step by step in future videos.